Good evening. Welcome to A Foreigner in the Philippines. Well, it's a late night chat for me about a number of things. What people comment on, things that they say, things that they contribute, things that they help with, and usually it comes down in the end with what Beth and I do and our channel. The mission has become to help, and so about helping unconditionally, without a judgment, without judging whether somebody is worthy, whether someone is leading the kind of life that you think is right. No, it doesn't usually come down to that. Usually it comes down for us about children, how children are affected for whatever reason we have for keeping children protected. It really is dependent on being able to look without conditions, without judgments. When we helped the blind man recently, courtesy of the help that we gave to him because of the empowerment of our subscribers, you. We couldn't judge whether, well, doesn't he have any, the questions that come up, doesn't he have any relatives? Isn't anybody caring for him? And then, well, yes, there were people that were there and that lived in the same compound or yard, and they lived in a better house than he did. Well, why didn't they invite him to live there? And these kinds of questions, all that they do, if you start asking these questions of yourself, all they do is they stop the help from being given. And so we made up our mind, and we've said this many times, that we would not judge about people that we help. So how do we then choose? This is another question that people ask. Well, who chooses? I mean, those who are critical of what we do might say, well, who chooses? Who gets to choose? And if they assume that it's Beth and I, well, who made you? Who made you the judge of whether this person should be helped over another? Well, of course we don't make the choice. We don't choose who should be helped. Our choice, our job ends in a way, as far as the person being chosen for help. Our job ends when we make the video and post it, and then we show the story. Well, we show many stories. We try to have an entertaining channel. We show many different stories, many different things that happen in our lives, and some of them concern us, some of them concern Brad Pitt, the chicken that Beth owns. Some of them concern very small things, and some of them can mean very big things. Now, we always say something that happened today which had a huge effect on me, and that was, we had been asked by Mrs. O and Mr. O and by Christine Perez, and we'd been asked by them to give gifts to Desiree. We had titled Desiree the Crippled Filipina Beauty. Now, once again, it's all in a title. If we phrased it differently, would you look? And our job is to get you to look. And would you have looked if we had phrased it, I don't know, somebody sick needs help? Would that have got you to look? I think not. Well, Christine and Mr. and Mrs. O felt very strongly about Desiree and her condition. And just to remind you, just in case you haven't seen the video that I'm talking about that was made today and uploaded today, just in case you didn't see that, Desiree was a young woman who was struck down a number of years ago with what has now turned out to be multiple sclerosis, and it's gradually taking her strength away and her joy for living. She has a young daughter who is around, I think, maybe 2, maybe 3 years old. And it was our job today, we thought, a joyful job, to go around and take some gifts that were given, as I say, by Mr. and Mrs. O and by Christine. Wow, what we were Mr. and Mrs. Father Christmas, weren't we? And when we went there, we didn't know what was waiting for us. Now, I say from time to time that when we go out to another on-site, let's say it's on-site, that we go out on location and we go to look at a particular community. We might go to give a mattress away, we might go to give some food away, all stuff which has been, but on which we have been empowered to do by the money that is sent by people like you. And I always say that we just don't know what's going to happen on those videos. That was how we found the blind man. We went to give a mattress away, and in giving that mattress away we actually saw that terrible, I've been calling it a chicken shack, I've been calling it a chicken hut, a tool shed, a bundle of trash. It was almost. No roof, all kinds of things wrong with it, a mud floor that was having so much rain poured in the roof, the mud floor was actually turning, the dirt floor was turning to mud. So that's how we found the blind man. And today we went to see Desiree, and we had lots of wonderful gifts, wonderful, incredible gifts from incredibly generous people. These are people with a heart as big as a mountain. And we got there and everything was just going marvelously, you know. And we were given all of these gifts out. We had given lots of toys to a stunned little girl who just didn't know how to process all of those battery-operated gifts with lights flashing and voices singing and all kinds of things happening. A little girl didn't know how to do it. She knew how to hold a little doll, which is what she got. And all of the other things were just sort of piled to one side. And then when it was all over, and I'm thinking, well, time to go. We've done our job. We had things to do. And then I'm listening to Desiree, and she's talking to Beth, and she says that I can hear that she, in broken English, she is saying, there was something I wanted to show. And then she covered her face like this, and she was obviously intensely embarrassed. And then, out of the blue, she lifted her t-shirt and she showed her right breast. And it was almost completely covered in the most horrific cancerous growth. It was black, and it just took the breath away. And I'm really not that great when suddenly confronted with something that is a heartbreaking situation. And it made me think of my own words, that we never know how these videos are going to turn out. We never know what will come, what joy will come, what heartbreak will come. We never know these things. And that's something that we've had to learn. That's something that we've had to grow in order to be able to face that, because we don't know when we make a video whether we can give any help. We just don't know. And we do what we can with what we have. Now, in that particular case with Desiree today, we had our most recent guest at our guest house, who has been an incredible help, has been, you know, solid gold, I think of it as, and has been helping. He took on the resuming the building of our swimming pool, which was originally funded at first and so far by a man who chooses to call himself Frosty, and of course he sent the money which enabled us to get going. I omitted to say this in a video that I did today even, that was uploaded, and I don't always remember those names. Sorry, I just don't. So Tracy said immediately that he would pay for everything that would go to getting Desiree up to see the doctor on Monday. We will go to Dr. C on Monday. He will make a recommendation as to where we can go to get some help for Desiree. And it made me realize that all of our actions have consequences. An action or an inaction, something that we fail to do. Well, this is a problem in operating in the Philippines, is that there is this very common, and it's a totally accepted, ingrained, perhaps even genetic way of dealing with life, to laugh at life, to laugh at what is happening, to laugh when you're expecting or when you're expressing grief. It's not easily understood. And the shyness of Filipinos and Filipinas is not easily understood either when you're from the West and you're a little bit in your face. So what happened a little while ago was that Desiree, we had the money to take Desiree to have a specialized 7-day course of treatment with very expensive injections that were I believe it was either 6,000 or 7,000 pesos per injection, and she would get one a day, and she would go into hospital, the local hospital, so her family could be there with her, and she would go in for 7 days. Well, we had taken her to a neurologist, and the neurologist had prescribed some medication which she had been taking faithfully. But Desiree noticed that it seemed that she thought that it had somehow triggered a lump in her breast, and she said that she didn't feel ready to do the 7 days in hospital until that she had attended to that. Well, we took lovely May, and she had a lump, and it was benign, and we took her, and it was a very simple thing, and we got that handled. And also Beth had the same thing, that she found a lump, and we took her in, and so from experience we knew that this wasn't the big thing. So we thought that they would then do what had to be done. Well, about a month or 5 weeks ago, we had a text from Desiree, and she said, we have, by the way, her father is a fisherman. She said, we have some fish for you, some prawns, would you like to come and pick them up? And it coincided with horrendous rainfall, which we've been suffering from of late. And it's a long walk on a muddy track to Desiree. So I said, well, why don't, if we want some prawns, we'll just buy them. So we won't actually go there. So unless the weather dries up, and it didn't, so we never got there. And now looking back, we're thinking that maybe Desiree was crying for help, and we didn't know. She didn't say, "Can you come? I need your help." And so we didn't know. And then when we saw what we saw today, and which you will see if you look at the video, it actually shocked us no end, and now it's haunting me, because we take everything that we do to heart. What else can you do? I mean, how can you see people in pain? How can you see people living in wretched conditions and not take it to heart? I don't know. Maybe there's an app that we could get, and we'll just plug it in, and then after that we won't care if anything happens or not, even though we keep trying to help. So that's really what I have time to talk about, and there's obviously so much more that you can talk about on these subjects. The subject of, should you deal with something? When you deal with it, it has possible ramifications. Isn't there that terrible saying, no deed goes unpunished? No good deed goes unpunished. I always think that was a terrible thing, terrible attitude. But anyway, we will now be involved in trying to get help. Even now, she is not sure about how she wants to proceed. Based on our experience, we're trying just to be there and to get her to a doctor, whatever that entails, and then from the doctor, possibly early next week, maybe Wednesday, we'll get her to Tagbilaran, and we've already booked a room, courtesy of Tracy, and we booked a room so that we can stay overnight and not have to drive back, a dangerous ride for my money, in the dark. So we'll keep you informed about what happens, of course, and we'll make a video so that you know what is happening and can see what's happening. And we'll be hoping that we can help this young woman who seems to have suffered so much tragedy in her life. This is a foreigner in the Philippines. Thanks for looking in. Bye for now.